You had £30 million deficit,
Yes,
didn't you?
correct.
Currently in the last
Yes.
financial year. That's a lot of money. Are you in crisis? I mean, how do you run these hospitals with a £30 million deficit all the time? But what kind of decisions do you personally make? Let us know exactly how much power you've got, basically. Your portfolio is basically blooming huge, isn't it? Well, that wasn't the reply I was expecting. I'm going to have to shut you up there. We will come to those issues. We will come to those issues. I think you're getting a flavour of what the next 45 minutes is going to be like.
Which is
because
not
I haven't been told in my ear whether I'm allowed to say that word or not, so I'm not going to say.
Fair
So
enough.
yeah. And in summary, just briefly, you're spending it on a load of new park and rides, 3 new train stations, including the airport train station that isn't actually at the airport, but
well, it isn't really an airport station. It is a parkway, which will have benefits for the airports. And I think often...
Can I just ask you on that?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it have been better just improving the bus service up from Horsforth train station rather than spending millions on a train station that isn't even there either, and you still got to put a bus service on? Any business that has a rateable value over a certain level, they're going to pay a levy. I mean, effectively it's a tax though, isn't it?
It's an investment.
Businesses.
So
South Bank, we're told if it happens, will be the largest regeneration scheme in Europe. It's going to double the size of the city centre. Doesn't seem to be that much happening to me at the moment. Am I wrong? That relationship between Chief Constable and Police and Crime Commissioner must be one of the most important relationships that we have actually in the city. What would happen though if you disagreed with the Police and Crime Commissioner? Who kind of wins on the beach? We just got a minute before we end. I just want to mention Joe Cox actually, because I can remember being in the newsroom here last year when you personally had to announce that Joe had died. That must have been unbelievably hard to do that.
It was. It's probably one of the most difficult things I've ever had to do in my police.
So we've got a combined authority which covers West Yorkshire plus York.
Yes.
And you sit on that, and you're the only non-politician. The rest of them are all leaders of the councils.
Yes.
The combined authority is in charge of transport, it's in charge of some bits of development. We've then got the city region and the LEP.
Which is a wider functional economic
because
geography.
you've got Craven, Harrogate, Selby and Barnsley in there. Potentially we might have a devolution deal, which wouldn't include Barnsley because they're in the Sheffield devolution deal. This is all just a bit, it just sounds, you know, from us from the outside we go, what on earth is going on? How does this all work? Who's in charge of what? This election. But due to the tragic events in Manchester, election campaigning and our debates were cancelled last week. Campaigning, though, is well and truly back up and running, and tonight the spotlight is on Leeds North East. So let's get things underway. Let's meet the candidates.
Used them in the first place, so now you want to scrap them?
Yeah, is that not a bit of a problem for you, Fabian?
Why is it a problem?
You know, in the long-term future of what we can invest.
That's a fair comment, isn't it, Neil? Because although your manifesto is costed,
yes,
which fair enough, the Conservative one isn't, but some people say your tax assumptions are more than a little optimistic. Oh, it sounds like Theresa May's dropped Northern Powerhouse.
Not at all. People are beginning to lie.
All right, it's not going to
and whether
give us
other parties from wherever they are want to debate, want to support that.
Okay, so that's fine. I don't think you'll give us an answer on that one. We have got a comment from Amanda on Facebook. Amanda's been in touch. Thank you, Amanda. She says, May keeps talking about no deal being better than a bad deal, but no deal will take us into tariffs and the economy will tank. I mean, Andrew, that's a very real question. I understand 14,000 lorries go through out of our ports every day. A lot of them with fresh food, with other produce. If each of those has to be searched and each of them to go through to make sure that the right tariffs are put on the items there, you know, what happens to our economy? I am going to move us to very quickly to another question now. This one came now from Betty. I want you to watch this. This is quite moving. I will warn you, this question.
Can't pass it on to my grandchildren.
Do you know, that's Betty there, and that brought tears to my eyes. I mean, Leeds North East is the most expensive for housing in the whole of the city. £220,000 for the average. I mean, that is just so way beyond my comprehension. What are you going to do? You think that's good? What are you going to do about it?
I
Welcome back to Between the Lines. This is the show where two people join me here in the studio and we have a good old gossip about the stuff that's been in the news and social media the previous week. Well, so far we've talked about HS2, OVS. We've talked about
the sort of relationship between Manchester and London, which is to do
I do
with...
feel myself sometimes wanting to scream. Do you know what? The North is not just Manchester.
Well, you know,
So, I could say we're going to talk rubbish. It's an old joke, but it's too easy and it has to be made. We are going to talk rubbish now. But
It's a step too far.
I think you should get off the fence on this item. Slop bin or not slip slop.
As long as 5 London buses, it sounds deadly,
That is
doesn't it?
ridiculous. Surely that's not true.
And what I love
Some
is
people are. So I say some people myself. But I'll put my cards on the table with this one. Obviously, not that I have opinions, but you know, a trip. We're going to talk about floods later on, and one of the questions with floods is: do MPs just care too much about London? Are they missing a trip with the fact that they've got to move anyway? So what? You know, maybe they could go to Edinburgh for a year. They could go to Cardiff for a year. They could move around. Maybe they should just come to Leeds.
I can't find that bit, but she mentioned about the Brownlee brothers, how, you know, how supportive they were and how they came together and how the party will be like this again. So
the thing is, she's
so basically Tory party's going to win triathlons, is it? is that the new electoral strategy, basically? Bit of running, a bit of cycling, a bit of swimming?
Yeah. The thing is that, I mean, she has...
Boris in a swimsuit?
But he does cycle, I believe.